A young shepherd faced a giant who terrorized an entire army, and no one believed he could win. But what happened next changed history forever. This is the story of David and Goliath, a tale of courage, faith, and a victory that defied all odds. Our story begins not on a battlefield, but in the peaceful pastures of Bethlehem. Here, a young shepherd boy named David, the youngest son of Jesse, tended to his father's flock. While his older brothers were away serving in King Saul's army, David's world was one of green fields and the gentle bleating of sheep. He was just a boy, small in stature but with a heart full of courage, honed by protecting his flock from the dangers of the wilderness. Meanwhile, a shadow of fear loomed over the valley of Elah, where the armies of Israel and the Philistines were gathered for war. Every morning and every evening, for 40 long days, the champion emerged from the Philistine ranks. His name was Goliath of Gath, a giant of a man, over 9 feet tall, clad in heavy bronze armor and carrying a spear with a head that weighed more than most men could even lift. His voice boomed across the valley, a thunderous challenge that made the Israelite soldiers tremble. He taunted them, "Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." For 40 days, no one dared to answer his call. The entire army of Israel, including King Saul himself, was paralyzed with fear. The camp was filled with worried whispers and a heavy sense of dread. The soldiers looked upon the distant figure of Goliath on the hill, a symbol of their own powerlessness, and their hope began to fade. They waited for a hero, a champion who could save them, but none stepped forward. It seemed as though Israel's fate was sealed. One day, David's father Jesse sent him to the battlefield to bring food for his brothers and check on their well-being. When David arrived, he heard the giant's arrogant taunts and saw the fear in the eyes of the Israelite soldiers. He was shocked and outraged. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? He asked. His bold words reached his eldest brother, Eliab, who grew angry and accused David of being arrogant and neglecting his duties as a shepherd. But David wasn't deterred. He saw not an unbeatable giant, but an enemy who was defying his God. His words of courage eventually reached King Saul. The king summoned the young shepherd, but when he saw David, his heart sank. "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him," Saul said. "You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." Saul's doubt was understandable, but he didn't know the heart of this shepherd boy. David's response was filled with a quiet and wavering confidence. He explained, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep, when a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock. I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." David's strength didn't come from military training, it came from his absolute trust in God's power to protect him. Convinced by David's faith, Saul finally agreed. He tried to dress David in his own tunic, putting a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. But the armor was too heavy and unfamiliar. David tried walking around but couldn't. He took them off, saying, "I cannot go in these, because I am not used to them." Instead of relying on a king's armor, David chose the tools he knew best. He walked to a nearby stream, bent down, and carefully selected 5 smooth stones. With his shepherd's staff in one hand, his sling in the other, and those 5 stones in his pouch, he stepped onto the battlefield. He was alone, a boy facing a giant, armed with nothing but simple tools and an unshakable faith. As he walked, the giant Goliath saw him and laughed with contempt. "Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks?" he bellowed. "Come here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." But David's reply echoed with a power far greater than Goliath's roar. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands." As Goliath moved closer, David didn't hesitate. He ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he placed it in his sling and began to swing it. With a powerful, practiced motion, he released the stone. It flew through the air, a small, swift projectile aimed with divine precision. The stone struck the giant squarely on his forehead, sinking into it. The mighty Goliath, the champion who had terrified an entire nation, stumbled and fell face down on the ground. A stunned silence fell over the valley, followed by a deafening roar from the Israelite army. Seeing their champion fall, the Philistines panicked. They turned and fled in terror, with the Israelites chasing after them in a triumphant pursuit. In a single moment, the tide of the war had turned. The bow everyone had dismissed, the shepherd with nothing but a sling and a few stones, had defeated the undefeatable giant. David had won, not with strength or armor, but with unwavering faith and incredible courage. David's story teaches us a timeless and powerful lesson. It reminds us that our greatest battles are not won with physical strength or worldly power, but with courage, conviction, and faith. The giants we face in our own lives, whether they are fear, doubt, or seemingly impossible challenges, can feel just as intimidating as Goliath. But David shows us that our perspective matters. He didn't see an unbeatable giant. He saw an opportunity for God to show his strength. This story encourages us to look beyond our limitations and to trust that a power greater than ourselves can help us overcome the impossible. True strength is not always measured by muscle or size. It is measured by the depth of our faith and the courage in our hearts. If you were inspired by David's incredible courage and faith, please subscribe to Unveiled Bible Tales. We bring you more amazing stories from the Bible every week, filled with lessons of hope, strength, and the power of faith. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.